Hey out there, welcome to this week's Training Tuesday. I am Heidi Reese, a training programs manager for Dayton Superior, and I want to thank you all for taking the time out to attend our training on sticks and boards wall forming. We are so glad you're here. Are you glad, Chuck?
I'm glad.
I'm glad you're glad. Okay, before we get started, a couple of things to go over like normal. I want to remind everyone that they have joined muted so that there's no disruptions. And we record these, so we want to make sure that they're crisp and clean and the best they can be to put them out on our Dayton Superior YouTube channels as well as DaytonSuperior.com. And then you can review them, you can pass them on to people that might benefit from them, you name it. So they're all out there ready for you to review again. But that doesn't mean I don't want you to be a part of this. If there's anything you want to talk about or chat about or question, you have any questions, especially at the end of the presentation, please feel free to use the Zoom functionality, whether it be the Q&A functionality or the chat or both, whatever, I'm here for you. Okay. So this training is for presentation. I always do that. I think I trained myself literally to say the training is for presentation purposes only. Of course it is. But the point here is that anything technical, products that we mention, phones flying on the floor like you just heard. Thanks, Chuck.
You're welcome.
I want you to go out there to DaytonSuperior.com and check out the products and the specifications, the safety features, you name it. They're going to be out there on DaytonSuperior.com. It's real important to look at the technical data sheets and the information around those. So you've heard it before, or if you're new to this week's presentation, let me tell you about Dayton Superior and Simons. We are the leading solution provider for the concrete construction industry. We're really proud of that. We handle accessory products and chemical products and forming. You can see all of our product brands on there, as well as Simons forming and shoring systems. They're very adaptable. Most of them work well together to blend with each other. But not only do we do the products, we provide you with support such as engineering. If you need engineering assistance, whether it's a PE stamp or true engineering of bridge decks or precast or Simon's forming, we can provide that for you. Training, we're doing one now. It's very mini and very short. If you need more customized, longer, something different, you just contact training@DaytonSuperior.com and it goes to Chuck and myself, and we will get back with you to get something going for you. So with that, Mr. Chuck Hoke is going to be talking to us about light forming construction, aka sticks and boards. You know, when I heard that, I always think stick figures. Feel like I'm gonna, do like a little drawing or something. I'm not sure why that goes in there, but no, it's like lumber boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Chuck, I'm gonna keep it brief because we all know how awesome he is. Well, actually, I wrote that. We all know he's the best of the best. And he is turning red as I say it. He's been in this industry for a long time, and he's quite diverse with all of the concrete construction products, scenarios, terminology, sticks and boards, you name it. So I'm going to be done. Mr. Chuck, come around the corner and do some presentation for us.
Thank you, Heidi. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit today about light forming products using sticks and boards as your forming material. So typically when we're talking about any type of concrete forming, we talk about concrete. What is the concrete? Concrete is basically a flowable material. Typically it comes in a liquid state, so it will flow. Typically you want concrete to, have a consistency, something
Like slushies?
yeah, a little bit thicker than slushy, yes. So, and it can be molded into any shape. And, that's what determines a lot of what concrete formwork you're going to use. So concrete formwork actually is the mold that is used to shape that concrete. So if you think of that as your medium, as it is your mold, it is what is going to shape that concrete, which is in a fluid state, but within an hour's time at 70 degrees roughly, it will actually take that shape permanently. So uh, we always talk about concrete form pressure, about 150 pounds per cubic foot. So that means a 12 by 12 by 12 cubic foot of concrete will actually weigh 150 pounds. And that cubic foot of concrete will exert pressure in both lateral and downward motion. So, what you're looking at is that as you start stacking concrete up, it will actually increase the volume that is actually on the foot below it. So, and that is cumulative. So, if you had 3 feet, you were then going to have 150 plus 150 plus 150 or 450 pounds of pressure pushing outward on the bottom of the form. Remember, I didn't say anything. I said a foot of concrete. I don't care how wide it is, because guess what? It doesn't make any difference. A foot in elevation of concrete, or foot in height of concrete, or depth of concrete is still a foot of depth of concrete. Doesn't matter if the wall is 1 foot wide, 2 foot wide, or 4 foot wide. The biggest obstacle here is that a narrower wall, 6, 8, 10, 12-inch wall will take less time to fill with concrete than a 24-inch or say a 48-inch, or even if you're looking at like some of these large mass pours that they do for shopping centers and that sort of thing, any commercial properties. Uh, it takes so long for the concrete to actually rise in vertical height because they keep adding concrete because of the sheer mass of the system. But you're not exerting a whole lot of pressure on those forms. Now, when you have a narrow wall system, you have to be very careful because you can accumulate a lot of pressure very quickly. So a lot of times the biggest issue that I've always seen in the past is that walls were like 6 inch, uh, 6 inches thick, had a tendency to have more blowouts than a 12-inch or 14-inch or 16-inch wall. It just because what happens is that concrete that gets put in that 6-inch wall fills up so fast that, as a contractor, you look at, well, hey, this wall should take, we should be able to dump a 8-yard load of concrete here in about 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Well, if you're only doing a 6-inch thick wall, you're going to fill that up pretty dang quick. So, and what happens is you then exert too much pressure because it doesn't matter what the width of the wall is, it's the vertical height that is the important thing. As the concrete cures, basically, you are looking at the concrete dissipates, the pressure actually dissipates, it moves forward. Hence why we do concrete pours in lifts. So a contractor will pour, let's say, an 8-foot high wall. They'll pour 4 foot, then they'll come back and pour the next 4 foot. And what happens is when they come back to start pouring that second 4 foot interval, the first foot that they put on has basically shifted because the bottom foot has cured out. So now they're pouring another foot on top of it. So they are actually maintaining only a 4 foot liquid head of concrete within this system. As I stated, everything that we talk about a lot of times is in 70 degrees. And since, the laboratory systems are in La La Land, they all work in lovely, 70-degree temperatures all the time. Unfortunately, we all live in the real world and you're looking at temperatures that vary dramatically from northern half of the country to the southern half of the country. You're going to see guys down south, trying to pour concrete in 90, 92-degree temperatures. Well, that concrete is going to set up really quick. In the Northeast, let's say in the north and Northeast where I came from, typically now you're looking at a high temperature of 50 and 60 degrees. concrete's gonna take a little bit longer to set up. So you're gonna end up with like an hour and a half of setup time between before the concrete actually starts to set. So with that being said, you need to make sure you're very cautious. If you're in that colder regions, you're gonna want to pour your concrete a little bit slower because concrete's gonna take a little bit longer to set up. If you're in the southern region, concrete you can pour a little faster because concrete's gonna be set up a little bit quicker for you. If you look inside our Dayton concrete formwork handbook, there is a pour rate table for concrete based off of 150 pounds per cubic foot, based on the elevation of concrete that's being poured.
Reading that last night to get to bed.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
I'll try enough to get you sleepy, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading the report here.
So the rate of pour table basically falls into place here with, it shows you what a 4 foot pour rate would be is roughly 600 pounds at its worst case scenario. And it runs down through to 20 foot in elevation because typically you're only seeing 20 foot on certain heavier forming systems that are out in the marketplace. That's why most people, like as I said earlier, do their lifts do their pours in multiple lifts, whether it be 1, 2, or 3 lift. I've seen guys do as much as 35 feet in a 4 lift situation where they come through and do 4 lifts of concrete in an hour, basically trying to maintain that constant flow of concrete or concrete pressure throughout the system. So, as we talked about earlier, narrower walls typically are more of a problem than wider walls. So, when we're talking about light duty forming, sticks and boards, typically, referred to as snap ties, any of the faster systems using plywood and 2x4 studs and wales. All of these ties that we are talking about here have a standard 2-to-1 safety factor, including all the ties they use for the heavier systems, all have the same factor of safety. So what we are looking for is what the safe working load is with those ties, basically expressed in a ratio of 2-to-1 as a safety factor of, let's say, 3,750 pounds, which is, basically what you would consider a barrier between light duty and medium duty forming. So all of our job build forms that we're talking sticks and boards, built on site using plywood and standard dress lumber boards. So usually it's going to mean 3/4 inch plywood with a standard 2-inch 2x4 stud or wale and a 2x4 wale or strongback, depending on nomenclature, how you are going to arrange your lumber. And using snap ties, tie wedges, john clamps, etc. So as we talk about our forming system, we are looking at, here's job build forms. This is about as basic as it gets. This is a snap tie setup. Basically, you have 2 sets of snap ties. You have either those with cones or without cones. But you can also get both of those, either standard duty, 2,250 pounds, or heavy duty, 3,350. 3,350 is the heavy duty version. These ties typically come with a 1-inch breakback. Now, breakback is a term you're going to hear quite often here because that a lot of time will determine when the concrete is set up and you remove the forms and you want to break the tie off so it's not sticking out of the concrete. It will typically have a breakback. That breakback is the distance from the face of the concrete to inside the concrete where that steel tie is going to break. So that is known as a breakback. And with most snap ties, standard breakback is 1 inch. Most cones typically are a 1 inch by 1 inch plastic cone. And you have also have the metal washers that are also available. Metal washers give you just a little dimple in the concrete from when you pour it. The cone obviously gives you a conical feature around there. It actually helps aid the snap tie in breaking back. You've also got anti-spin devices within the ties. And these ties typically have what they call flats on them. And the flats are designed so that when the concrete hardens around it, and you come back later on to break the tie back and you grab a hold of the end of the tie and you start to spin it around, those flats are going to stop the tie from spinning in the wall. If the concrete is still green when you try spinning it, they will spin around, and then what'll happen is your tie will consistently turn within the form, even after the concrete's already hardened up. Now you either have a choice of you have to chisel it out or cut it out of some form or fashion. Now these ties also, being snap ties, typically come in two dimensions. Things you want to know is you want to know the wall dimension, which is critical. Then you have to know what the L and W is, which is the length of the ends of the ties. And that's going to be from the wall dimension out to the outer edge of the tie. And it's at both sides. And typically that would be either a short end, which will handle 3 3/4, well, excuse me, will handle 3/4 plywood, and a 2x4. A long end will handle 3/4 plywood, a 2x4 stud or whaler, and a 2x4 whale or strongback, depending on your system. So in other words, what it'll handle is a 3/4 plywood, a 2x4 lumber, and a 2x4 lumber. So that takes care of your lumber dimensions, and that's how you would order your ties. Now, if you start looking at the overall length, like the ties would have, like a long end has an 8 3/4, 8 1/4 end. You start adding up your lumber dimensions, you're going to see you have a 1/2 inch too much. Well, the 1/2 inch is actually taken up by either the wedge or the eccentric, which is like the wedge-shaped conical piece that's in John A bracket or C bracket. These systems here, you typically set your plywood up, you set it on, obviously you got to have a footer in place. You're going to have a sill plate in place. I always like using a sill plate because it just makes life a lot easier. You can actually anchor the face plywood right to the face of the 2x4, then start your wall coming up. You don't have to have an external kicker on the floor to actually help brace it. Your sill plate actually take care of that. But usually you're going to end up making sure that your ties are, your first tie is going to be about a foot off the ground, and then either 1 or 2 foot thereon up, depending on how fast you're going to pour. And those are the things you could actually vary with your pour rate. If you're going to pour concrete a little bit slower, you can space your ties out a little bit more. If you're going to space it a little bit faster, you'll end up having to space your ties a little bit closer. We talked about whalers and strongbacks. Excuse me. A 2x4 against a piece of plywood in a vertical position is typically called a stud. If you turn that stud horizontally, it now becomes a whaler. So don't let the nomenclature get to you, because If you use it as a whaler and then you want to put a 2x4 vertical 2x4 behind it, that would then be a strong back. Like I said, it's all nomenclature. Don't get hung up on it. All forming systems, whether you use a stud and whale or a whale and strong back system, they all do the same thing. All they are load gathering devices. Now, basically, what that means is your pressure concrete gets poured into the form. That form pressure is pushed outward on the face of the plywood. That plywood then transfers it to your first 2x4 member, whether it be vertical or horizontal. And then that will transfer it to the next 2x4 vertical or horizontal member. And from there, it will get transferred to the tie wedge. The tie wedge or the eccentric on the backside of the form will then transfer that load to the tie. So the tie is the ultimate component carrying the load. So, based off of how you want to gather your concrete and basically load it up, typically you're going to see systems like a single whale system are going to be faster and quicker, easier than a whale and strongbacks or whale and stud and whale system. Uh, it's a little bit quicker, but you have to pour a little bit slower because it's not quite as strong. So, those are some of the trade-offs that you have to take with this. So John, so basically you're going to be looking at concrete flow as we talked about here. And as it runs down through, and it makes no difference whether you have a stud and whale or whale and strong back system. Both systems are the same. They do the same thing. Our A4 snap tie, you can basically get that with a hex head on the end of it, which basically makes the breakback easier. So you can spin it off with a hex wrench. Get it with a cone or a washer, depending. You can get it with a long end or a short end. And as we talked about, we had a 3300, 2250 and a 3350 load rating on those ties. Now, we also have all the different components that go with it. Plus, we also have another system, which is a Sherlock system. It's a great little system for light duty forming. Comes in a 2,250 pound load rating. But typically, the problem you have with this system is if you don't own the component pieces on the end, uh, the eccentric cam system, or the strongback system, or what you may call a grasshopper, depending on what they're referred to. They are typically what the deciding factor. If you own those, this system is very economical. You've got somebody that knows how to use it. You can go very fast with it, very quick. It's quick, it's easy, and it has a really good production rate with the system. You can also use the John system, which uses a John A bracket and C bracket, depending. It's one of the fastest systems in the marketplace. Typically is a single whale system. Anything usually under 7 foot is usually good with this. And that is also a light duty system. So 2,250 pound load rating. You have your snap tie wedge, which covers both standard and heavy duty. As we talked about how to calculate your load dimension, your end dimension of your stamp tie, you got your 3/4 plywood, 3.5 inch for a 2x4, because we all know a 2x4 is only 1 5/8 inches by 3.5. So therefore you got 3.5. If you're going to have a whaler on the backside of that, it's another 3.5, and then 1/2 inch for the take up with the cone or with the wedge. The wedge typically is a rounded, edged surface. One of the things that you will find with Dayton is we are one of the few companies that actually we take our wedge and we grind the inside track where it rubs against the snap tie to actually eliminate the fact that as you pound it too hard, with some wedges, they actually have a tendency to cut into the snap tie. Here's the John system going in place here. As you can see, it only uses a single whale system going through on the edges, and every 6 to 8 feet, they will end up putting a strong back where there would have to be a long end snap tie. And then there they would either use a tie wedge or a John C bracket in place to actually hold it in place. We have scaffold brackets to accommodate either of the systems out there. Here's your John forming system with the John A bracket in place. Quick, easy, no nails needed. Actually, very few nails needed. Most of this lumber is all you loose. You're going to actually set it up, pinch that corner board in there with your whalers, and you are ready to roll with this system. It's a very fast and economical forming system. The John A bracket typically holds a single 2x4 on top of it. The eccentric wedge actually holds a short end snap tie. Bring it down, and that eccentric will tighten up. And if you play your cards just right when you set the tie system up, you can flip that eccentric in and around and let gravity do your work and pretty much place itself automatically. Just requires a quick little tap of the hammer to place it, and you're ready to go. The A clamp, or excuse me, John C bracket typically comes back here. That's what's used for your double whales on or strong back on the system. This bracket here straddles the double two bys and will actually have where the tie will come through the center of it. And then you just tighten it down with the eccentric clamp on it. Once again, standard 2,250 pound load rating on this system. John forming system basically holes are drilled in that's typical of what you're going to see. Most of the time, what you're going to see is guys are going to basically drill like about a 5/8 inch hole. That's big enough to send the end of the snap tie through it, but not big enough to have the cone or the washer go through. 5/8 inch take up on the eccentric or on the brackets allows the snap tie to be put in place. And then you drop your 2x4 on top of it and tighten everything up, pull everything tight. Anything over 8 foot high is typically going to require a strong back. And this basically is a vertical alignment piece, usually put about every 8 foot in center maximum. This basically just has a vertical alignment system. So if you have like a 10 foot or 12 foot high wall, it just helps that keep everything in vertical alignment. We also have turnbuckles, bent plate, straight plate, depending on your need with what your application is. The bent plate can be used to actually attach to any whaler system. The flat plate system can be aligned, used to attach to any vertical members uh, within the forming system and any modular forming system. The Sherlock tie system, as we talked about, has a 1 inch by 1 inch self-centering cone. Great little system, quick, easy, fast, safe, heavy, light duty, 2,250 pound load capacity. And this system here has, like I said, a 1 by 1 cone, self-centering. If you drill a 5/8 inch hole in it, this will pass through. And you can then, this cone will be self-centered on it, so you don't have to worry about seepage of concrete going through it. Biggest drawback on it is the cost of these two component pieces. These are very well made pieces. These are very highly engineered pieces, and they've been around a long time. They do a very good job, and if you have a contractor that has this system and he knows how to use it, he can have a excellent turnaround time within the system of using this type of what we call a cam system here. And for those when everything else doesn't work, you can always use pencil rod. Pencil rod is nothing more than a straight piece of wire, usually 1/4 inch diameter is the standard. The wire will run through your formwork. You put a whaler on the backside, put your clamp on one end, tighten it down, and it's a pressure clamp on the wire. And then bend the wire up 90 degrees. On the other end, you are going to pull it in place, take the tightening wrench, tighten it down on the wire, tighten up the clamp to get your proper wall thickness, and then tighten down your rod clamp on that system. This is a very quick and economical system. At the end of it, a lot of times guys will just pull that pencil rod out of the form. Sometimes they'll leave it. Most of the guys I know of, if they use a pencil rod, they'll pull it out and dispose of it just because it will rust. There is no break back with this system. So as we talked about, Dayton Superior has all of these features and products available for you, today. Basically, you can get any of the information that you're looking for at DaytonSuperior.com. You can go to the search function on the website, and the search function type up any of these products that you're looking for: A3 snap tie, pencil rod. Any of these component pieces can be then highlighted, brought up, and you can get a technical data TDS or any other pertinent information regarding it on our website. You'll also find that we can come up with our handbook, our forming accessory handbook. Been around, this was one of the Bibles in the industry from the way back when the day. This system here, this booklet here actually covers concrete form pressures, loading, bending deflection of plywood, 2x4s, 2x6s, telling you what the spacing can be for any of your studs, wales, even in any of your shoring capabilities with those lumber characteristics. It's a great piece of literature. It's available online. You can download it, or you can actually request a printed version from Dayton on DaytonSuperior.com. As we talked about, our TDSs are on site here. You can find out the different sizes, product codes, safe working loads, and any characteristics involved with that component piece are available for you right on our website.
So guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them now while Chuck continues.
And we're going to talk a little bit here. If you do have a question like, who's my sales guy? How do I get a hold of Chuck or Heidi? Well, on this site here, you can also says there's on the when you call it up, you can go to the contact us. It will bring up a map selection. You can pick up whether it be Dayton Superior or Simons. You can contact that, click on either one of those, and it'll bring up your region within the country. You click on that region, and it will tell you what salesman covers that phone number, what area. His phone number is right there attached. If you want to get a hold of Heidi or ourselves, the phone numbers are right there attached. So you can get any of this information from DaytonSuperior.com.
I don't see any questions, so you must have done fantastic. Tell them about some training.
So if you want to have any training, any additional training, like a lunch and learn, uh, or a class here for if you're doing a trade show, or you are doing a sales meeting with all your salespeople in the office, and you're looking to have somebody come in and talk about product here. Scan this QR code. You can actually get a training request form, send the information in to Heidi and myself, and we will actually respond back to you quickly, tell you whether we're available, what we can do, if, help you out as far as any additional training, or you can get a hold of your salesperson to actually help schedule any training for you. We offer lunch and learns. We do customs training, AIA and engineer, and we do in-person and virtual. So we can cover all the bases here for the training situation. And we can also, if you're interested, you want to do like a quick little training for your people, there's always Training Tuesday. If you go to our training, go to the website, typing Training Tuesday, it will bring up a heading for all of the training classes that we've done in the past. They are all segregated by product information, especially grouping. And you can click on that and you can actually have that brought up and replay that at any time you want. So with that being said, anybody have any last chance for questions? No questions. Okay. Well, I think that would conclude today's training session. So if you have anything that comes up here after this, feel free to contact Heidi or myself. Thank you.
That's right. Just a reminder that next week we don't have a training Tuesday because Monday is a holiday. And Chuck and I are going to go roller skating, I think. So,
Yeah.
so if anybody wants to join, come let us know. No, I'm just kidding. But next Tuesday, next Tuesday, no training, but we'll be back at it. We're going to be doing the Simply system, talking about the new panel. And with us will be Ryan Graham. So I'm going to put that as a sign up for next week, but or for 2 weeks, excuse me, on the website. So you can sign up for that in just a little bit. So thank you guys all for coming and listening. And we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Thanks and have a great day.